All right, guys, it's February 11th, and we have a lot to talk about. We have a winter storm moving through the mid-Atlantic. We have a system that's about to move through the Midwest, and a pretty significant Arctic blast, if not 2 or 3, that should be moving back down into the lower 48 as we push through February, and possibly even into March. I did quickly want to talk about what's happening up in our stratosphere. Obviously, for a while now, we've been talking about the possibility of a stratospheric polar vortex split. Now, this is our 50 millibar height anomaly up in the stratosphere, and you can see it's projected to split, within the next 24 to 48 hours up here. There are a lot of different layers of the troposphere and stratosphere, but this would be classified as a split of the polar vortex. This, of course, is going to displace a lot of that stratospheric Arctic air a little bit farther down to the south. Now, this typically can be associated with a lagging event, meaning the cold air down at the surface in the States isn't immediately going to be there as soon as your stratospheric polar vortex settles down to the south. We've seen in other years, especially 2018, that when this event occurs, really what it does is it can help to significantly extend your winter. I believe in 2018, we had some much cooler wintry-like temperatures extended through April, but we are already pushing into another very, very wintry pattern again, almost similar to what we had back in January. We still see a lot of blocking up here, really where our stratospheric polar vortex should be. So obviously this can have big implications for the lower 48. Let's quickly take a look at our most updated teleconnections here. When our Arctic oscillation is negative, that typically is a sign of a weaker polar vortex. When the polar vortex is very strong up there in the Arctic, it's going to hold in all of that cold air. That air up in the Arctic is the coldest on the planet. When the polar vortex slows, it's going to leak a lot of that typically down to the lower 48. It really depends on a few other factors, but a negative AO like this or a negative Arctic oscillation, you can bet it's going to get colder in the States. And these models aren't even seeing us potentially getting back up to neutral until the 23rd, although I don't know if this is actually going to end up happening. These teleconnections over the last week have continued to push this time frame of when it goes back up neutral back farther and farther. Our NAO, or North Atlantic Oscillation, also remaining negative. What does this mean? Well, typically we're going to have more blocking out to the east of the US and up towards Greenland. This is going to allow that cold air that's sinking in because of that negative AO to stick around. Typically gives you a more active and wintry storm pattern out east. Some people have probably already seen this. I know the internet is quick, but right here around the 19th, 20th, and 21st, yes, you can see our GFS wanting to put snow down into areas potentially like southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, through Atlanta, through Charlotte, maybe over into Texas. This is a pretty far south snowstorm. Now, we're talking 200 hours out. I'm not going to put too much into this right now. Obviously, we have some model consensus on this. The Euro likes this time frame as well. Going back to our teleconnections real quick, if we were to look at our Arctic oscillation and NAO, we're still, going to be in a pattern that looks like, this could be a possibility. We're going to have a lot of sinking Arctic air from the north, so something to watch out for. I'm not just going to look at this and say, no, this isn't going to happen. This is something that there's a reason the Climate Prediction Center is giving you something like this here, really showing a strong return to winter back out east. Even when we push all the way into the 25th, guys. This is almost, we're getting close to March here. Cold air out east. Again, this has to do with our negative NAO. This has to do with our negative AO. And although I think we may get a quick warm up first week of March, maybe the last few days of February, I think March is going to be pretty cold too. I think we're going to be running below averages, at least for the beginning of March out here across the east. Now, our Midwestern snowstorm that is dropping snow currently in the Rockies, it's going to be moving through Kansas, Nebraska, up through Iowa, Missouri, obviously Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin. These totals have pulled back a little bit. There was some blizzard potential with this on the later models. There were some models a few days ago seeing this low potentially deepening down into the 998s, 996s, and it's pulled off. It's pulled off quite a bit. I will say that's very good for the south, although we are still expecting severe weather Wednesday and Thursday. It could have been much worse with a deepening low. We could have actually had blizzard conditions to the north and, tornadoes, a tornado outbreak to the south. Still possible to get tornadoes. We're going to talk about severe weather this week in a second, but these totals have pulled off up here with the snowstorm in the Midwest on Wednesday and Thursday. And we can take a quick look at what our updated totals are for this. So these are our most updated totals from the Euro. This is something, again, it's a good model. It's getting pretty close here, so we should be ironing out, or these should at least be closer to what you can expect. Still thinking potentially 5 to 7 into Chicago, potentially 2 to 4 into Detroit. Again, it's going to be close. There's going to be some mixing on the southern side of this storm, and you can see really our swath. So that does include cities like Omaha, most of Iowa, really potentially see from Green Bay all the way down to Milwaukee out to Madison, Wisconsin. 8 to 9 inches. Someone could overperform there as well. And although it looked like your heaviest snow when you looked at the future radar was going to be down here, What's happening is you just have a much better snow ratio up here to the north. So that snow is less dense, going to be accumulating much quicker. We're expecting another system to move through right after this. This is the one we're also concerned about with a very severe weather outbreak down in the south on Saturday. So you can see this moving in right after, and we could really be adding to our totals up here in the Midwest, guys. Speaking of what is going on Saturday, first off, I do just want to quickly give everyone a reminder. Here is our day one watch from the Storm Prediction Center. So this is going to be Tuesday into Wednesday. Obviously, 2 areas we really need to watch are right down here. That does include San Antonio and Houston. And we're also watching portions of Alabama and Mississippi here. These are going to have an elevated chance for some tornadoes. You could see tornadoes really anywhere in this risk zone, although the best shear and most instability is going to be in these regions, so we need to watch out for them. Let's quickly move into day 2. This is something to be concerned about. So this is a Wednesday, Thursday issue. Again, most likely if we're going to see tornadoes, they're going to be in here. This is where instability is going to be. This is where shear is going to be. And specifically central to southern Alabama, central to southern Mississippi, and portions of eastern Louisiana. I don't expect this to go enhanced, but we really need to watch it. At the same time frame, you could see exactly what this looks like. It's a little spooky looking on the future radar here. We do get some kind of what we call them popcorn thunderstorms. These are thunderstorms that can have some pretty good inflow and lift, and those can put down stronger tornadoes. And then we're probably going to have some QLCS tornadoes, so some tornadoes that are associated with the squall line. We could have heavy winds along the squall line, hail. So again, we need to pay attention to this. Now, this is where things get a little dicey as we push into day 5. The Storm Prediction Center rarely puts risks this far out. The fact that they have kind of this slight risk this far out, and we're talking portions of southern Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. This, if I had to guess, is going to go enhanced and honestly could go moderate. We'll have to see. This right here, as it looks right now, could have the potential to put down some long track tornadoes, EF2 plus. So the really bad ones. Don't want to scare anyone. We got some time. Just everyone needs to be weather alert and understand that this region right here really needs to be paying attention on Saturday. This does include southern Tennessee. You can see most of Alabama, most of Mississippi, most of Louisiana. Again, this could shift a little bit north. We could see this zone encompassing more areas of Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee, out here, Georgia, Florida Panhandle. So let's watch this as this moves forward. But this is associated with that second system that's going to be sweeping through the Midwest. So right here, what's happening here is you just have a very steep, you can see the trough right here, very steep trough. Now this just means a very significant temperature gradient here. You're going to have a ton of lift out ahead of this cold air. And with that lift, we're going to have a lot of wind shear as well. This is a lot of instability. This is also a storm, and Mezzo Matt came in my live the other day, and he talked about it. This is a storm that could be associated with, or we could have some derechos associated with it too. These are just basically a wall of wind. You could get 100-mile-per-hour winds that aren't even associated with a tornado along a squall line like this. So there's a lot of stuff we're watching out for here. So everyone in this area, again, no one needs to be panicked or anything like that. It's just you best be weather alert, especially on Saturday if you're in this area. Understand that this weather is going to move through. Stay up to date. Make sure you have a way to get the watches and warnings. And yep, everyone should be safe. So, but we're going to keep our eye on this. What is right behind this is what a lot of people in the Southeast have been asking for, another big cool down. I'll just show you guys some of these wind chills that could be right behind this Saturday system. And you can see this. I mean, this is when we're thinking Florida could be getting back wind chills back below freezing. You can see this all the way down almost to San Antonio down here, Houston. 30-degree wind chills, Tampa 44-degree wind chills, and this cold air is gonna continue to sink, or could sink even more than this. And we're probably gonna have another significant trough after. We can move this a little bit forward on the Euro. So this is our Saturday trough, pretty cold. And then if we move out, we got another big burst of cold air there potentially, and another one right behind it. This one could be the most significant. Just a very cold pattern. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons for this. We've talked about it. Very cold pattern. I mean, you can see this one here. We're talking about wind chills 36 down in Miami. This is very far out. This is at the end of the run. I'm not going to discount it though, because again, we've got a stratospheric polar vortex that's splitting. We got a lot of ridging building up in Canada and Alaska as well right now. It's really squeezing this cold air down into the south. We have a cold pattern setting up moving ahead. So that, again, you could just take a look. If you don't believe me, go take it from the Climate Prediction Center. They've got great meteorologists there. They're seeing this as well. I'm just kind of elaborating and showing you kind of what they're looking at and probably why they're creating this outlook, this temperature outlook here. Last thing I didn't really talk about was out west. Let's go to our latest Euro. Here is our Thursday and Friday. This is going to be a ton of precipitation out west. from up north to down south. If we quickly want to take a look over this 2-day span, what's going on, what our Euro thinks, it still does want to bring that good snow, some good snow down to the elevations of New Mexico and Arizona. Sierra Nevada, Cascades, just getting slammed with snow. Colorado, including into the plains, getting some good snow. Good snow up here in the north as well. We also, with this again, and I talked about it I talked about it on stream. Portland and Seattle could get in on some good snow here as well. We can see as this snow moves in, we do have some sinking cold air. So here is the system, and we do have some cold air out ahead of it. So we'll see. I think this is going to be a close call. This kind of wants to bring some snow and mixing into Portland and Seattle. We'll see. It's going to be a close call. I need some snow reports from you guys after this. And again, with this event, very strong winds. We could see, 50, 60 up in the highest elevations. And some pretty strong winds down at the surface too. Some pretty strong wind gusts associated with that event. Now, after this first system, we may get another system moving into the Pacific Northwest, bringing a decent amount of precipitation as well. Some wind, kind of just some wintry weather. This would be over the weekend. This doesn't look like it's really going to dig down into the southwest. Still some potential. It could dig a little bit farther south, so we'll keep our eye on that. This is our quantitative precipitation over the next 7 days. Obviously, big totals out here in the east, and some good totals out here in the west as well, especially over in California, Oregon, really the PNW, coastal Washington and Oregon. But you can see we could see some decent precipitation totals through the Rockies as well. Again, just to summarize it moving forward, you can see these temperature anomalies across the states. We want to stay cold, and I think this pattern is going to continue through March. I think we will potentially see a slight warm up, but we're going to have some more shots at snow. I don't know for down in the south in March, but who knows with this setup? We could see a chance for snow down in the south in March as well with this setup. So I'll be paying attention to it. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Again, if you like this type of content, feel free to throw me a follow or sub, and I will be on streaming later, so I might see you then. If not, I'll see you in the next video.